We're going to get started here. Good evening. We will be conducting tonight's meeting here in City Hall, City Council chambers, as well as virtually using Zoom. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting tonight on Wave Channel 18 and online through the city's YouTube channel. If you would like to participate in live public comment via the Zoom platform, please refer to the agenda for instructions. Pastor Fred Benzel will be giving the invocation this evening, and Mayor Carl Skint will begin the meeting immediately after. Pastor.
Thank you, and thank you to the council for your service. Let's go ahead and we'll open with prayer. Heavenly Father, we're so thankful again for your love and your grace tonight through Jesus. We thank you for this opportunity to gather for the council, for city officials, Father. We're so thankful for them. We pray your hand upon them, Lord, as they bring wisdom and help and counsel to our city. We thank you for all of our community, our schools, our faculty. We thank you for our police department, our fire department, Lord. May you protect them as they protect us, Father. And so we just pray, God, you'd give counsel even tonight and wisdom amongst those who are here as well, that we might be able to better our community, Father, to live a life of prosperity for all and peace. And so, Lord, we just thank you for this time. We commit it to you and trust your hand and your will to prevail. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Ready.
Welcome to the City of Lincoln regular meeting of the City Council, Lincoln Redevelopment Successor Agency, and the Lincoln Public Financing Authority for August 27, 2024. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Andriotta.
I'm here.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Joyner. Councilmember Lauritsen.
Here.
And Mayor Carl Skint.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is a report from closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. We met in closed session and there is no reportable action at this time.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, thank you,
Going to
Mayor.
be
I will
led
be,
to us
if
by-
everybody would please stand and join me for the pledge.
The flag of the United States.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is agenda modifications. Does anybody on the council wish to modify the agenda? Anybody on staff?
We did have one item, Mayor. Consent item 8F will be acted on after the public hearing item 9A.
And Mayor, one other thing, City Treasurer Pearl, who also helped coordinate the Wings and Wheels event this last weekend, is going to give a quick update during public comment on the event this weekend. And then during my report at the very end, we're going to run the slideshow so that people can see the good pictures of the event.
Okay. You could go ahead and make the presentation now and then I'll do that.
Well, I think it'd probably be just procedurally at the very beginning of public comment, and then we'll get through the rest of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then we go to presentations. I have a proclamation. Proclamation 2024-06. Proclamation of the City Council of the City of Lincoln recognizing Michael R. Lee for his 40 years of public service and his retirement. Whereas Michael faithfully and effectively served as the Placer County Supervisor for 16 years, beginning in 1972 at 27 years of age. I didn't know he was that young. And as a Placer County Water Agency director for 24 years, beginning in 2000, for a total of 40 years of dedicated public service. And whereas Mr. Lee moved to Loomis in 1968, immediately becoming the owner-operator of Villa Market, and then opening the Loomis Travel Agency in 1982. And whereas, in his commitment to the community, local businesses, and local government, Mr. Lee served on the Sierra Planning Council, Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, Local Transportation Commission, National Association of Counties, Motherlode Supervisors Association, and as president of the Loomis Chamber of Commerce. And whereas, as the county supervisor, Mr. Lee was a fiscal conservative with a reputation for excellent oversight. His priorities were transportation, law enforcement, fire protection, local business, and advocating to form an independently elected board of directors for PCWA. And whereas, beginning in 1991, Mr. Lee led and managed construction of the 12 Bridges project, transforming Lincoln from only a few thousand residents to one of Placer County's most beautiful and thriving communities. And whereas Mr. Lee is recognized by his peers as knowing how to get the job done with honesty and integrity for his service at Placer County, PCWA, and the Loomis Lions Club, the South Placer Foundation, Heritage Foundation, the Sacramento Safety Council, the Library Authority, the Criminal Justice and Delinquency Prevention Council, and the Volunteer Fire Department, and for his faith in Jesus Christ as our Savior and Lord. And whereas Mr. Lee has served all of these roles with unwavering commitment to the people of Placer County, with thoughtfulness and wisdom and decorum. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the city of Lincoln does hereby honor Michael R. Lee for his 40 years of public service and congratulates him on his retirement. Mike, you come up and say a few words?
Evening, council members, and Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to offer a few comments relative to our relationship. It's been unique at that, in that, I was on the Board of Supervisors, and I had certainly a recent occasion to get together periodically. And then after that, on the Water Agency Board, of course, we had a real close relationship because water is such a big deal, especially for this community. And so it's been a real pleasure. I've really enjoyed working with staff as well as the council members over the years. The uniqueness is that the 12 Bridges project came up. Of course, I was off the board then, but basically, water was such a big deal even for 12 Bridges, and also helping Lincoln, Del Webb, and everybody else. And that was done before I got on the Water Agency Board. But we had our good friend Alex Ferreira, who was my colleague and mentor on the Board of Supervisors, that had quite an impact on me. And so we did a lot of good things for this community. And I feel like I know more people here in Lincoln than I do in my own town of Loomis. And it's just been a real pleasure working with all the people here. And I appreciate your recognition. And it's tough, but anyway, I appreciate that.
Just a second. Present that. Can you come around here, Mike?
Yeah, we should get a picture.
We get a picture as a council.
Yeah, I didn't wear a coat.
That's all right. You don't hardly ever do.
Glenn, go ahead and do that one. From the mayor first and then we'll.
Okay, everybody.
Doing it again? Oh, we're doing it, yeah.
All of us.
Remo, you
Oh,
want to get
good,
up here?
good,
Yeah.
good.
Come on up. Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
Yes. Hold on, we're gonna wait for Primo.
Here?
Yeah, come take a picture with us. Sorry, we're a little awkward here. Oh, you're not intruding.
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mike was the first local, non-local elected that cornered me and asked me to run for city council in 2016 and really put the pressure on. And it was nice to have somebody from outside, lived outside the city to do that. So he made an impression on me, and I don't think his wife has ever, my wife's ever forgiven him, but anybody other, I'm sure you want to mention.
I do, just very quickly. You all heard that incredible litany of accomplishments over 40 years. Not just in Lincoln, not just in Loomis, not just at the county, in all of our communities. I cannot think of anyone that has accomplished more positive change for Placer County in so many different areas than Mike Lee. It's been an incredible honor to know him and to work with him. He's not going anywhere. He's just retiring. But Mike is the model to follow. If you're going to be doing this public service work, he is the ideal public servant. He is humble, modest, and driven. So it's been an honor to work with him.
I would just echo the same thing. I haven't had the opportunity to work with you as many years as Councilmember Joyner has, but I appreciate you and your integrity and your character, and it's been a pleasure to work with you. Thank you so much.
I would only say that if anybody can model even a fraction of what you do for communities and other people, then we will all be better for that. Thanks.
Very important.
So, thank you again, Mike. Congratulations. And I hope you enjoy entire retirement as much as I'm going to. Next item on the agenda is new life for an old dump.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council. So I'm going to keep this fairly brief, but I just wanted to give community and council a quick update on a project that actually started with Mayor Carlskin year or so ago, and now has been picked up by Councilmember Brown as Mayor Carlskin is retiring at the end of the year, and this is also in Councilmember Brown's district. But if IT could bring up the map, it might help for folks to know where I'm talking about. But a little background. Many years ago, the city of Lincoln closed an old landfill and dump on Virginiatown Road. And it was a site that had significant contamination. And so the city, I won't go into all the detail of the lengthy amount of work that has gone into capping that site. But suffice to say that it is now a contained site that will continue to be monitored for various regulatory requirements for an indefinite period of time. So the question has been for some time, what to do with that property. It's not appropriate to be built on, lived on. It's not appropriate commercial site. It's not really an appropriate park site. And so what do we do with it? And oddly, along the way, we work a lot with, we're proud partners really of the Friends of the Auburn Ravine. Jim Hoffler, who sort of leads a lot of their efforts, is not here this evening. He's away, but I think is Laura Peters here?
Yep.
Oh, hi, Laura. Laura is a board member with the Friends of Auburn Ravine, and she's been involved, and a former NID board member, and she's been very involved in the project in the last year or so. So we began the discussions about a year ago, and the idea initially was, what can we use the site for? And more importantly, how do we unlock that side, which would be the northern side of the ravine, to more recreational opportunities for our community? It is a place that can be hiked currently. There's kind of dirt cut-in trails up and down, but it gets overgrown often, and access into the trails is actually kind of complex. You have to kind of walk through a bunch of private property in many cases to even get there. So we started talking, and one of the missions of the Friends of Auburn Ravine is sort of bringing attention to the wildlife and habitat that call that place home, up and down the creek system, both in and outside of Lincoln. And so we started talking about perhaps there was a way to create some type of nature/cultural center, not something that's staffed, but, essentially kind of a shaded kiosk area where folks could come and learn about the trail system. It would be kind of the trailhead where you start and get some information about the salmon spawning that occurs in that area, and a lot of the other wildlife and natural plant life that's in that area. In addition, as the project started to take shape, we got in touch with the United Auburn Indian community, and if you walk that path, you'll see lots of evidence of grinding stones and other areas where, thousands of years ago, people were living and raising their families and hunting. And so we actually met with a representative some time ago from the UAIC and talked about a little collaboration where we could get some information from them about what this area likely was, make sure that as part of the project, those areas are protected from folks that might want to get in there. We were told that it's fairly frequent that folks will try to find some of these sites to try to dig up arrowheads and other things that might be of some value. And it's very important my understanding, it's very important to the tribe that those are sort of remain untouched. And so as the discussions have sort of materialized, we've found that there's quite a bit of grant money out there for reuse of contaminated properties, and also quite a bit of state dollars out there for additional biological/cultural recreation areas. So our idea is, and the map up there on the screen sort of shows you generally kind of the location we're talking about. It's bordered by the Hemp Hill Dam on the eastern edge, and kind of our dump site, which is the little blue box there on the western edge. And the idea is that if we could master plan a trail system there that would be accessible to all folks, it would be an area where people could get more use out of that. And so it's essentially the northern side of Turkey Creek Golf Course, essentially, which at one time was planned as an additional 9 holes on the other side, and that is not going to come to fruition. So this is we're not seeking any kind of approval or action. We're just sort of letting you know we're working on it. It'll be a long-term process to get the money to plan something that might work, and then fund what would probably be a fairly expensive endeavor to create trail systems through really protected and precious ecosystems and habitat. And the idea in general, I think, is to celebrate what is a pretty rare resource that not every community has, and also protect it long-term. So that's the idea as it stands today. And I'd like to turn it over, if she's interested in adding anything to that, to Laura Peters. If you want, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but if you wanted to just add anything from the Friends of the Auburn Ravine perspective.
As she's coming up and thinking about what she's going to say, I would like to add.
Please.
That this is exactly the kind of thing that, that I look forward to, as a member of the council, is coming together with community members that are concerned about things in the community that they want to make better. And then working with them to find out what tools we can give the community to help accomplish that. To me, that's the perfect example of community and government working together to do that. And I'm a member of the community too, so I'd like to see it happen.
Thank you. Yes, it's a really promising project. It's very far from being a reality. There's a lot of things going on still, but there's a lot of opportunity given that the Auburn Ravine is an anadromous fish passage. And so we're trying to look at the whole system in a holistic way to say, you know, to make it as beneficial as possible. And so heads up, there's good things happening at the old dump. Thank you.
And we also are hoping to use maybe some of that property that can't really be used for other purposes as parking for folks that want to hike. And
The trailhead.
yeah, it's not, there really isn't much safe parking along Virginia Town Road. It's it's pretty sketchy, having gone out there a number of times, so.
Because it encompasses so many aspects of conservation, recreation, history, the amount and different grants that are available is phenomenal. So I think that we're going to end up with a wonderful project at no or very little cost to the city. But it's going to be at fruition. It's going to be a good tourist draw, really is. Okay. Are you done, sir? Okay, we go on to the next item on the agenda, which is public comment on non-agenda items. I'm going to have kind of a presentation before we really get into present comment. So do you want to do your presentation now or your little speech?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Richard Pearl. I had the honor to work with some fantastic people at this last event, Lincoln Airport 2024 Wings and Wheels. Scott, would you come up, please? And Tom and Drury, would you come up? And I thank you for the opportunity to move this forward for a brief presentation because Tom was out there working at the event all day Friday, all day Saturday. Scott just works 24 hours a day, so it doesn't make any difference. And Tom there's a chamber meeting this morning, and another chamber meeting, tomorrow morning. So thank you. These guys represent what is all that's so great about the city. We had Tom, that's the CEO of the chamber, and all of the volunteers underneath it, making sure the marketing was working. Everything worked fine, especially with all the volunteers. We had, I think, 50 volunteers all together on the non-aviation side. Scott probably had 30 guys all together, guys and gals all together, maybe more? Quite a few, yeah. And the work that they did made it come off to be a safe event. We think 4,000 people out there. Now, I came here 2 weeks ago and I said, we really have this wired this time. We had everything wired except for the weather. And so I think in the last 20 years, there's only been one rain day in late August and we hit it. Friday was perfect, Sunday was perfect. Saturday was a real challenge. So what do? When you handed it lemons, you make lemonade out of it. And so our people were out there at 5 o'clock in the morning, and all the people were out there. There were probably 1,000 people out there coming through the gate at 5 o'clock in the morning. They were there primarily to see the hot air balloon rise. Balloons don't do very well in rain. And so that went by the wayside. But Tom managed to pull together 200 cars that came out, including one that was a convertible in the rain. Go figure. Didn't have as many airplanes as we anticipated, certainly, but we had 40 out there. And anyone who was there saw the big Coast Guard C-27, which just was jammed with interest from people, from youngsters all the way to the real seniors. So it was a great day. We had 60 vendors out there. They all came out. So we just had a great day. Next year, we'll put in our request for better weather. But we had, as I said, it was a safe event. Everyone had a really good time out there. But to me, one of the best things that I saw was the number of families out there, especially with the kids. We did have a youth expo, and they were just jammed. The EAA and the local pilots made sure that with spinning props, there's always, potential danger. They made sure it was safe, made sure that everyone was safe. They marshaled all of the aircraft. They made sure that they lined up the pilots so the pilots could talk to our guests. Just had a great time. So next year, 2025, Lincoln Wings and Wheels. So at the end of the meeting, we put together a small slideshow, and we'll do it at that point. But Tom, thank you so much for all of your people, and Scott. Thank you. Thank you.
Back to public comment. Well, welcome again to our council meeting. We're at the point of the meeting where each person may comment on community items that are not on the agenda. Each person is given 30 minutes to provide comments that they wish.
That would be 3 minutes.
You do not get 30 minutes.
Sorry. Yeah.
Mr. Chapman got very excited for a minute.
Right. Each person will have up to 3 minutes to provide comments that they wish the city council to hear. Council is unable to take any action on any item that's not on the agenda, and therefore cannot take any action on items here in the comment section. For interest, I'm wondering how many of you are here about the gathering in facility being created in our community? Please raise your hands, but not pitchforks, okay? Okay, that's kind of what I expected. I thought I would take this time to point out a few facts, and there are very few facts, that we have so that everybody that's going to make comments knows what is factual and what is possibly rumor. We are not only, plaque number 1, we're not only appalled by the lack of transparency, but the active hiding of information about this facility until after the close of its escrow. The information was hidden from all officials, local electeds, and members of the community. We had no knowledge until after the escrow, the purchase of the property was closed. 2, the grant that creates this facility is under the auspices of the State Community Care Expansion Program, the CCE program. It's established under state legislation AB 176 by the state legislature, which provides for the override of all local ordinances, building codes, and processes. These are processes that provide for the orderly development, growth, and maintenance of a city. A few examples of these ordinances and processes are city zoning, which establishes orderly ground use. City conditional use permits that attaches conditions to the use of the project. And then, of course, at the state level, California Environmental Quality Act. None of these can be applied to this project under the CCE. It has been interesting to me There's some of those postings I've seen online reference the 12 Bridges hotel process as being synonymous with us. So let me refresh everybody's memory about the concern and trauma that members of the community went through during the process of defining the hotel. The project, whether all of the process required for a development process in the city. This process includes significant public outreach during the normal processes of design reviews, planning commission reviews, development agreements, and the city council discussion. The hotel project was totally transparent from the beginning. If you remember, the school district and public safety, having been involved, had worked out the issues of safety and staff during the process. As a result, the most affected agencies, public safety and the Western Placer Unified School District, had no problems with the project when it was up for final approval. Finally, in addition, the hotel project withstood a legal attack on its CEQA documentation. The third fact that we have, which is, according to the information available to the city, the information we have, this is not a homeless shelter project, but a medical support facility for post-hospital recovery for hospital release patients that are too fragile to be released on their own, either on the streets or to a shelter. All options for resolving the issues that we have with this project are on the table. With legal options and the ability to arrive at an agreement with DGI to satisfy the concerns of the city. We are not a NIMBY city and have proved that we are able to tailor local solutions to the local homeless problems. But we do have processes and ordinance defining how we would proceed with significant changes to our environment. The latest update that I have is that TGI has said that all communications between the city and TGI must go through their newly assigned legal counsel. With that information and those 2.5 facts, I'll open this for public comment. I have a batch of cards. I appreciate people filling out the cards, and the cards are in order of how people turn them in. The first card is from Deanne Carvner. Is it Deanne? Deanna?
Deanna Kavner. My concern was the alleyway behind the senior apartments on 3rd Street. There's a walkway behind there, and there's a lot of graffiti and garbage and broken glass, and a lot of our children, that's a school route, back and forth there, and it backs right up against the senior apartments there. So it's not really healthy for the seniors to look at that. We don't feel real safe there with that. And then also the children walking back and forth, with the drug paraphernalia and whatnot. And I was just hoping that someone could maybe clean that up
Okay.
or participate in that. Okay, thank you.
Taking notes on that. Okay. Thank you very much. Next name on the list is Mary Ulara.
Well, I guess you answered all my questions. I just don't feel safe, knowing that we have homeless people. What if they escape? I don't know. I'm just kind of leery about it. And basically, that's all that I have to say. Just kind of scary knowing they're homeless. But then they have to go somewhere, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you.
They will be free to come and go.
Yes.
Gail Hutchcar.
Good evening. Thank you for listening to me. I live at the Lincoln Senior Citizens Apartment Complex across the street from where TGI is planning on this emergency temporary home for homelessness and injured homeless people. However, my question is, when they have been repaired or when their time is up for their temporary stay, where are they going to go? They're going to open the door and say, okay, we're done. You can go now. This is a problem. We have no security where we live. There is no fence or gate to protect us. There's no on-site management there. It's just an open field day for seniors, most of who don't even drive or get around except for the bus. I'm just saying that there has to be some kind of resolve. When they're better, how are they going back to wherever they came from? That's my question. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for speaking to us. Next card is Cheryl Benvente. Benvente.
Hello. I also live at the Lincoln Senior Apartments, and my apartment is actually, my backyard faces that particular building. And every day, every weekday, the children that go to school there, their parents or whoever walks with them or them by themselves, they pass to and from both the sidewalk right where our building is and the building is. Right now, I've been observing that there's nobody in that building, but they do have security, which my concern is, okay, they have security with nobody in there. Will they have security when they're helping them medical-wise? Also, being that we're seniors, also, it's not just for the seniors. We are disabled people there as well. So we have caregivers and family members who come over to help and assist us. And there's no gate in that building. Obviously, there's a concern. That's why they put security out there. So what about when they actually start running? Is there going to be a fence up that separates them from us just to keep us safe? I also have a mother who, the building next to them, she resides in the Lincoln Meadows Rehab Center. They're also going to be affected by what's going on. So my biggest concern is the same thing that Gail mentioned, is our safety and where is everybody going to go after they're released? And how is the city going to maintain our safety as the citizens of Lincoln? Those are my concerns and my questions. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheryl, did you say that they have live security guards there now?
Yes,
Okay,
I do.
thank you. Thank you. Interesting.
Robert Stevenson.
Yes, thank you for letting me speak. I have some comments or statements I would like to make. One,
why were we not notified? Two, they are homeless and they do a lot of major drugs, all of them. Our crime rates will go up and they are dirty and they have a lot of major fights and illegal weapons like machetes, etc. And I also live at 1655 3rd Street, and I don't feel safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Glenn Bailey?
That's correct, Glenn Bailey. I'm also a resident of the Lincoln Senior Apartments. Before I moved here 4 years ago, I worked closely with Sister Libby in Sacramento, Mark Marin, the attorney that represents the homeless. I've been involved for about 16 years. A guy from Hollywood made a movie called Searching for Safe Ground. I'm in that movie. It's on Amazon if you want to see it. And so I know a lot about how these things work, but this particular building, this purpose for this building, I'm not familiar with. So I'm familiar with making camps, drug-free camps for people and getting them cleaned up to get into housing. But I don't know about this kind of building, and I don't think you do either. I think that's the problem, is we can't respond to something we found out about a few days ago. So everyone's worried about the same things. Obviously, we don't want drug paraphernalia on our streets, and we don't want people hanging out, and those are the big worries, really. I mean, we have this wonderful place to retire in, and there's really nothing wrong with Lincoln, except that people drive too darn fast. But that's another matter for another day, as I'm eyeing the police officer. Anyway, thank you. Just keep us apprised of the situation. I don't want to overreact because I don't know what I'm reacting to yet. So thank you for listening.
Thanks, Glenn.
Laurie Randleman?
Hi, good evening. I'm here mostly for the same thing. It's already been said. I don't want to repeat things that have already been said, but basically, the location is bad for this. It's within a half a mile of 3 schools and a stone's throw from the middle school. That's my concern. I don't have children, but I love the children in our community. I want to know how are we going to know what's happening? I realize, Paul, you said that they have counsel now. So how are you going to keep the public informed of what's happening and along the way?
That's a great question. Aaron, you want to take that? Aaron is our public information officer.
Good evening. We have a plan moving forward. Our goal, obviously, as mentioned, the Gathering Inn has secured legal counsel. So most of those communications are now going through our attorney and the attorney representing the Gathering Inn. But we're dedicated to providing regular updates. I would encourage anybody who has not already subscribed to our e-bulletin to subscribe. That's an easy process online. You are welcome to reach out to me after the meeting if you'd like help setting that up. We'll provide regular updates. Those come out on Monday evenings. Also through our social media channels, and we will continue also with email updates as they become available with any larger progressions in regard to where this is moving forward. But we're dedicated to providing regular updates, even if the information is minimal.
Will you continue with the social media updates, like what
Yes.
started?
Yeah.
Yes. No, we will be committed to making updates on all of our social media channels in addition to the e-bulletin. All of that information is also posted on our website, which is lincolnca.gov.
Okay, thank you.
I think what you may see, though, moving forward, since they have decided to begin talking through legal counsel, is the electeds kind of backing off of what we can and cannot say publicly because this could be litigated.
Brian, Neves? Right?
No, it'll be a nice break. Come on.
Like, you want me to go at the end?
Okay,
Hey,
Fran Nevis, I live over in 12 Bridges
Hey, did you
and,
see that I wore my glasses today? Did you
oh,
see that?
yeah, I got a couple more pair, but I didn't want to be frivolous here, you know. It's nice to see you all. So I came to talk about Oak Tree Lane because, wow, there's really a lot of stuff going on down there. And we are getting slower traffic on 193. In fact, it's a one-lane road in the mornings. There'll be 20 cars backed up with a stop slow sign, you know. They're digging these 24 feet holes, putting these big, huge pipes in there. You know, there's lots of trucks, and I see the double dump trucks, you know, like one's empty and one's full. So I think, well, they're going in, they're taking stuff out and putting stuff in, you know, and I'm wondering about that. And I have driven out all the way out to the site. It's just amazing to see what's going on down there. And so one of the things I was coming to this evening about was because of the water system, the little creek, the road goes over this little creek, you know, and now they've got, they've hit groundwater or something. And I'm just wondering, I Google Earth that little water, it goes between the church and it comes from Ride to Walk. It goes Ingram Slow, it goes, turns into Orchard Creek, goes to East Side Canal, goes to Cross Canal, goes to Sacramento River. Can you believe that? A little water from Ride to Walk's going all the way to Sacramento River. Well, anyway, I'm wondering if it's contaminated. So I'm wondering if anyone's testing the water that's coming out of there because it's so close to the Titan missile site and there was leakage. There's still water at the Titan missile site. And I know when St. Joseph's went there 17 years ago, we had to pay the Army Corps engineer $400,000 for soil analysis because of the water. And I'm wondering if the new developers behind us there have to do anything about the water, if anybody's looking at that water, because they are pumping it out of there. So it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, you can Google that little dribble of water all the way to Sacramento River. So that was my main question about that today, I guess. That's it. Oh, and I wanted to thank Vin. The last time I brought this up, he said he'd been out there to look out there. And I'm just wondering how many of you, you know, when somebody gets up here and talks about a situation like this, you know, I invite all of you to go out there and drive out there and see what's going on there. And you'd be surprised how many people go up and down that road 6-7 days a week, not just Sunday. You know, the church is there, but you should see what's going on back there. It's pretty amazing. So thank you for your time and thank you for all you do.
Fran, I'll call you tomorrow because the answer to your question is more than a few minutes of answer. But suffice to say that yes, the water is being tested. What you're seeing is dewatering that occurs when they dig down, you know, below a certain level. There's some water there, but there's testing going on. The water board is super involved in this project. They're monitoring every bit of it. So I'll
Well,
give
actually-
you all the detail.
Okay, I talked to Primo 45 minutes yesterday, but his agency doesn't have anything to do with this, but
Nope, that's leaking. Yeah.
the fact that the Titan missile site still is full of water and it does leak and it
Yep.
is contaminated, I think it's a good question.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Whitney Ackland.
Good evening, Council. I'm here to speak about the Gathering In project. I wrote everything down so I can get it all in 3 minutes. I'm going to go. As a planning commissioner for the city of Lincoln, I am compelled to strongly oppose the Gathering In's proposed project in our community. The manner in which this project has been advanced without transparency or proper involvement of our city, even though they may not be legally required to do so, is concerning. Engaging with local authorities and the community is the right thing to do. The proposed site is fundamentally inappropriate and irresponsible. Our community members purchased their homes with the reasonable expectation that their neighborhood would remain a safe and stable environment free from significant and disruptive changes imposed without local input. The residents in these areas were not informed or given a voice in this decision, which directly impacts their safety, property values, and quality of life. The proximity of this project to schools and a senior center is particularly alarming. These are sensitive areas where the safety and well-being of our most vulnerable populations, children and seniors, must be our top priority. Introducing a facility of this nature in such a location is dangerous and poses unnecessary risks that our community should not be forced to bear. Under normal circumstances, a developer proposing such a project would be required to go through an extensive zoning permitting process, which includes environmental reviews, as we talked about before, traffic studies, public hearings, and opportunities for residents to voice their concerns. This process is designed to ensure that developments are appropriate for their surroundings and do not harm the existing communities. While the state grant may allow a project like this to bypass local zoning and permitting processes, it is unjust to impose this on our community without proper consideration of the local context and without the city's involvement in the decision-making process. This is not an attempt to disregard the homeless or individuals struggling with addiction in our region. Rather, it is about being responsible and prioritizing the safety of our residents first. The lack of transparency by TGI and disregard for local voices is a betrayal of our trust, a betrayal of our residents, who place us in safeguard of their interests. I strongly urge the gathering in to reconsider this project and to engage with our city and its residents in a transparent and collaborative manner. Having integrity is doing the right thing when no one is looking or you're not required. Furthermore, I fully support the city's efforts in challenging this project and advocating for the safety and well-being of our community.
Thank you.
Thanks, Whitney.
David Kahn.
All right. Hello,
By the
Mayor.
way, I forgot to mention this to start out with. We generally dissuade people from either applauding or booing. A lot of people are not comfortable speaking. Obviously, Whitney is, but we really like to not have a show of support or dissupport. So you can go ahead.
Cool. Hi, Mayor, council members. Mike Lee, dude, where are you?
Oh, he
left. Oh, he left already? Yeah. That dude did more before, by 9 than I'm going to do all day, I'm sure. Okay, so I'm here from the Gathering Inn, or not from, but for. I live 2.5 blocks down the street. I walk my dogs down the street all the time. There's nothing we can say here. I know I'm preaching to the choir, right? We don't know that much apparently. So just reiterating everything else that we as a community really need to step up. We really need to keep pressure. I know you guys can't publicly say anything, but please come around and tell us, hey, look, let's organize something or do whatever we can do. The police are going to have their hands full, I'm sure. When I moved here, I walked down to the McDonald's and I found 2 needles in the parking lot. I spoke with Erin on the phone the other day when this first became public, and she was telling me Lincoln has actually gone from 43 down to 20 permanent homeless people. That's amazing. And now we're going to bus 50 to 100 people in from other places? I think we all need to step up, and I'm really looking for some leadership from the city council and from our community leaders as well. So if we could maybe even tonight, when we leave, exchange phone numbers or something, maybe we can get together and have something going on a grassroots level. Right on.
Thank you.
Just to comment on that. So I think to piggyback on what Councilmember Joyner said about us not being able to communicate, probably what that looks like is that, because we've been pretty active on social media since we found out about this, just answering your questions and saying what we could say. Once this ball starts rolling, we may not be able to comment a lot on social media, but you do have our commitment that through Erin, through our city attorney, we will keep you informed. We will not keep anything hidden from you. Anything that we are legally allowed to say, we will say. And please know that if you aren't hearing every detail, just know that we're taking action. And so I appreciate I appreciate your call to the community. That's amazing, and we're going to need that. But you have our commitment that you will not be in the dark as much as we are humanly able to keep you informed. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna wait to say this, but I live right next to you. I'm like a block away from the place. Yeah, I don't even have a dog, thanks.
That was a
But
good one.
But I do have a daughter that did tell me that she is now, would be afraid to walk to church.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Dennis Olson.
That's funny.
I want to address one thing. When I was on planning in 2004, I made appropriations for the wall on Joyner Park, the money from the developers to build the wall. There's about a half a mile that was built in Orientals, and they never got over a foot high. I've been working with city staff, and I want to thank the city manager for stepping up all year and putting up with me, and the city attorney for helping me address this problem. During COVID, I got a broken hip. I was slugged in my backyard. My wife got spit on because of no wall. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Melissa Lake.
Thanks for hearing from us tonight. I have worked with Health and Human Services with Placer County for 27 years. And I was always real proud to help the homeless in our area. Not proud of it anymore because they don't want help. So what I'm concerned with, because I live right next to this project, is that the people that we're bringing in, I'm afraid for the kiddos that walk by. I raised my kids here, and I wouldn't want my kids to go to this school. Not to have to walk through the people that we're bringing in right now. And the fact that they've been so secretive, and I never, honestly, I've worked with the Gathering Inn for quite a long time, working through with Health and Human Services. And I don't trust that they're going to be honest with us in the future. And how do we know? Because they don't have to let us know about anything. And this sounds horrible, because I would help anybody, but how do we know this isn't going to become permanent housing for the refugees that are coming into our communities? And if we've worked so hard to only have 20 permanent homeless individuals in this city, why is it that we have to continue to work hard when they're bringing them in? 100 people? How do we know this isn't going to become permanent housing? I've seen it happen. I've worked in the system long enough. Trust me, I work at DeWitt. And so I've seen more than I want to see on a daily basis. And so it's pretty ugly. And I don't believe that those that have been working with the Gathering Inn, not saying on this council that you knew about it, but I'm not saying that people didn't know. Something this big, someone had to know. And I don't trust living a block from this new facility. I just don't. And I've also heard that there is a potential for them to purchase the lot next to the facility to build an even bigger facility. So are you monitoring that? Are we monitoring that is not going to happen?
Again, I was so proud of the work that Placer County did for our substance abuse individuals, for our mental health individuals. I was so proud of what we used to do. I'm not proud of what we do anymore. We drug our individuals into submission so that they're not a danger. And I'm not saying that these aren't a danger. Does the gathering in, are there any 290 registrants that they're going to be monitoring for? Do you even know? Is that something we're allowed to know? So, and if I'm sorry I'm going over, but if your daughter's afraid to walk to church, she's potentially walking past those individuals. So.
Thank you.
To your point, Melissa, there were those who knew. And what makes this so insidious is that those few who knew worked very hard to keep it from us. And so, yeah. I've been, yeah. Well, you know what's really interesting, and I'm just going to say this really quickly. What's really interesting is that, we hear stuff from the community all the time about, there's this problem in this neighborhood or whatever. And I've heard, there were rumors out there. And for the life of me, I can't figure out, none of the five of us, the city staff, we're working hard on our homeless project, all these things that we do to run the city. And between the active collusion between the seller of the building and TGI and their requirements for the state and whatever, and even with the rumors, this was such a body slam that nobody brought it to our attention. And people have said, well, you should have known. Well, I guess maybe I'll put clairvoyant on my resume next time, mind reader, because we can't monitor every little thing. So I really appreciate your comments. And I want you to know, and to David, to Robert's question earlier, why weren't the community notified? We notified you as soon as we did. And it's a really hard thing for us to sit here and go, we did not know. I did not know. And I hear all kinds of stuff. So this is really egregious to me. And so I'm sitting here right with you on the fact that people knew, but they purposely kept it from us. And that's something that this council is dealing with on relationships that we thought we had that we don't have anymore because they lied to us.
Okay.
Lincoln is the 7th state.
Oh, we know.
California.
A number one in NorCal.
Stay that way if we're bringing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unsavory
Yeah.
individuals.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they're all that way, but.
Okay. Thank you. Last card I have is Adam Kofort.
We're working on that.
Members, my name is Adam and we live in Brookview, and my daughter, she goes to Creekside Oaks, and I recently just found out about this through the Western Placer Unified School District notification. And it's concerning. I think the main concern is the Section 290. I don't know if there are sex offenders who are planning to be housed there. That's my concern. Also concerned about traffic and implications that this will have on the local police force and the needs for housed individuals after they are released. I'm also a little bit concerned about the lack of community engagement and the trust factor not being there with TGI. I don't believe that they have ethically reached out to the community in a way that fosters trust. So yeah, whatever we can do, I would be in support of kind of looking at this, make sure they didn't violate anything, just because they seem to have strong-armed their way into the community and without really kind of considering the communities. And I do support the homeless. I mean, it's a complex problem. I don't want to be coarse, but I do want to make sure that this is the correct site for this facility. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you. Any other individuals from the audience? Seeing none, anybody online?
Yes, Mayor, we do have a couple hands raised. Jameson, please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I, like a lot of, this is regarding the gathering in, I, like a lot of people, heard about this and was concerned about it. I emailed a bunch of civic people about it. Then I went to the Gathering In's website, and between that and an email conversation that a brief email in response that I had from Gathering In, I do personally feel better about the situation. The manner in which it arose is shady, and I'm not going to defend that part, but to hopefully make folks feel better, at least according to their website, which obviously they can put on there whatever they want, but if we're taking what they're saying at face value, this is not a homeless shelter. It is a medical respite facility that specifically you have to be referred to go there from a hospital. There are no walk-ins. There are no self-referrals, and they and no sex offenders as well. Additionally, the people are going to be primarily elderly, and I took a few notes real quick. The primarily elderly patients served by the medical respite program will be inside the building or its internal courtyard, and no visitors will be allowed. So no walk-ins, no sex offenders, or self-referrals are accepted. In addition, so I reached out to the Gathering In on Friday or Saturday, and I got an email response yesterday. In the time I have left, I'll go ahead and read that response to hopefully add some clarification to the situation. During their stay with us, they work with a case manager who helps them remove barriers to homelessness and equips them to achieve sustainable housing. Last year, 83% of the 90 guests we served went to positive destinations, which include permanent supportive housing, transitional housing, emergency shelter, rehabilitation facility, or skilled nursing. Of the remaining 17%, only 5% went back to the hospital for the same issue. For those who do end up returning to a status of unsheltered, all efforts are made to develop a safety plan, which includes a return to their area of origin. So I think that is of particular importance there. For example, if they were previously living in Auburn, they are transported to Auburn. We also work very closely with all outreach and entities in the community and county. Well, that's debatable. Editorializing there, and collaborate with them on the very few discharges which are not improved destinations. It is our intent to preserve the neighborhood's character and take all measures to guarantee safety for the neighborhood. So I can forward that email if somehow someone wants to contact me through this. But yes, I personally feel a little better about the situation, even though how it came about is still shady. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody that has comments or anything can forward it to city clerk, all one word, at lincolnca.com, and I'll make sure that those get forwarded to .gov. I'm sorry, lincolnca.gov. Apologize.
Any more online?
Yes, we do have a couple more hands. Lena, please go ahead.
Good evening, Council. I have many concerns regarding the TGI project. Mine align with Whitney's and really everyone that's spoken so far, so I won't repeat those. But I feel confident that the city will do everything they can, to do what they can. It sounds as though the state has put a lot of barriers up as to what you can do, but I'm wondering, is TGI communicating with the city at this point? That's what I'm wondering. Dan, I heard you say something at the bottom of what you outlined about communication, but I didn't hear it. So, can you let me know who they're
Yeah,
communicating with?
what I said was at this time, because they have a lawyer engaged, all communications with EGI go from lawyer to lawyer. That was what I mentioned. There has not been there's been one meeting, very superficial meeting. There has been no flow of information since that meeting that was promised.
That's
So there
unfortunate.
isn't a lot of communication.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that.
I am too.
I
Sorry
hope
to say
that
it.
somewhere along the way, they will communicate with someone, or it would be nice if they communicate with the council. Thank you so very much for doing what you can on this.
Thanks, Lena. Next person.
Yes, Mayor. Danielle, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I agree with everybody about the TGI project. That's what I'm here for. I'm actually a direct neighbor of the TGI project. Unfortunately, my backyard backs up to their parking lot. And so I do agree that it's unfortunate because when I bought my house, I was not under the impression that a homeless facility of any kind was going to be my backyard neighbor. I am worried for the safety of our community as well as its residents. Also, for my family, we have 2 young children who live at my house, and I have a pool and a hot tub in my backyard. And unfortunately, the windows from this facility look directly into my backyard. So it creates a safety issue for our children in my own home. So I'm just really hoping that there's something that the city can do to put a stop to it. And I thank you guys on the panel here, because I can really hear that you guys feel the same way that we do. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
No other hands, Mayor.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody that has made comments. This is an emotional, stress-filled issue, and emotional and stress-filled feelings. And it was done very well, very calmly. I also, since we just had discussions, the council agrees with every single concern that you brought up and had identified, I think, every single one of them.
And more, yeah.
And we're as incensed and disheartened and energized to solve the damn problem. I don't know how we're going to solve it. We don't know how we're going to solve it. But I tell you, the amount of time spent on this in the last week is a horrible waste of, we shouldn't be doing it, but it has consumed an enormous amount of council and staff resources in trying to get information and trying to get facts. And we're having to go to all levels of additional government to have that happen. So, and as allowed by law, where it is, we will keep you up to date because we are and have been as transparent on everything we do. We will try to keep you updated. It becomes sticky issues sometimes because you're in the middle of litigation.
Yeah, Mayor, if I can, just a couple additional things here. I've heard the number 100 people mentioned
Yeah.
a couple of times here tonight. So I want to flesh that out a little bit. The numbers we're hearing are 60 to 100 people, but we are also hearing that the average stay is 6 weeks to 8 weeks. So you can do the math, how many people could potentially flow through the facility in a year's time. The other thing that I do want to mention is you mentioned that we are reaching out on all levels. Our state elected officials, our assembly member, our senator, are working with us to gather as much information as we can out of the legislature so that we can bring that back and assess how to move forward on this. So we do have partners on every level, and we're going to keep working this to the best of our ability.
Well, if I may, real quick, Mayor, too, I just want to state that I've only been on the council for a year and a half, but it's been very clear to me and what is the desire of my heart, and I know for the rest of the council, that they've worked really, really hard to make sure that all transparency and the truth of what's going on, not just as a city, but as a community, is available to everybody. And having built that level of transparency, trust, and the interest that we have for all of our community members, we don't want that to be ruined in any way, in any manner. And so we stand for transparency, integrity, and truth.
Everything, see, Bill. I guess that closes public comment. And again, I can't thank you enough,
Thank you so much
For
for
the
your
way that
respectfulness. We
you-
really appreciate it.
Ben.
A little crazy, I could like use some.
Hold on, do we get another 3 minutes? Because
Yeah.
I could go somewhere with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Go home and,
Mayor, I think you may have a couple more public comments that were not cards.
he
Pardon?
has
I'm
to.
sorry, Mayor. I think there may be somebody else in the audience that raised their hand that didn't get to put in a card.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we just have DGI come to a meeting, a future city council meeting, and describe their side of it?
Paul, could you come up and get on mic so that people online
Yeah,
can hear you?
We need
Thank
to
you.
record this.
Should invite him.
It's a good,
I am just requesting that the city invite TGI and maybe also the party that sold the property to be involved in a discussion that would be
Well-
open and transparent at this point. Thank you.
okay, thank you. I'm not sure having, well, never
Mayor,
mind.
TGI has indicated they are going to do their own public outreach, so I would suggest we leave
Yeah.
it to them to honor that promise and commitment. With respect to the seller, it is a private third-party individual. So we have really no means of
And
compelling
they-
them to
right.
speak at this time.
And their presentations, community outreach will be marketing. Okay. So next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. I've had a notice to pull 8F for later vote. Any other items to be pulled from the
No, Mayor.
consent calendar? Anybody in the audience? Yes? 8B as in boy.
Buddy.
Okay. That's it. So
So you said that F is going on a future agenda?
Yeah.
no, on a
No.
future item.
Later?
Later in the
Got
agenda,
it. Got it.
after 9A. Okay, so we have pulled 8B. Can I vote on the,
I move to accept the rest of the consent agenda.
Second,
Thank you.
motion and a second?
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Andriotta.
yes.
Councilmember Joyner,
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen,
Yes.
and Mayor Carlskid.
Yes. 8B, a resolution authorizing the issue of responses to the Placer County Grand Jury Report entitled "The Review of the Water Rate Increase and from Missiles to Meadows, Restoring Nature's Balance." Did you have questions or a particular part of it?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Mayor, just a couple of questions. I know this has been gone through many, many times. Seeing as how hopefully it's the last pass through on this. Couple of questions, and I'm sure it was probably covered in the past, but I couldn't locate it. When the water issue or the city was collecting too much funds into the tune of roughly $41 million, and predominantly, from what I read, it was literally a lot of commercial and that sort of thing, developers' fees that they were paying into the water rates. It wasn't real clear as to how that $41 million was distributed. And then my other question was, looking at, it was page 8 of the packet, essentially it showed the proposed water revenue adjustments, and it started in October 1 of 23. And I know it was talked at length, but again, my mind being what it is, we started out with the adjustment at the very top of 84%. And then from the next level down and several after that, it was down to 3% in 24, 3% in 25, 26, and 27. And even then into July in 28, all of those are 3%. My particular question on that one was, what was the reasoning or the necessity, the way I look at it, that the 84% took such a drastic to lead this off and left a lot of people really grappling for that kind of rate increase? So just those are the two issues I'd like to hear about.
Thank you, Mayor. I will just indicate that those two questions are not facts or responses that were requested by the Placer Grand Jury and actually are not issues that are encompassed by the Placer Grand Jury report. If you want any further response to any of those questions, I'm sure between Ms. Racker and myself, we can answer them.
If you want that information outside of this venue, we can get it for you, right?
Yeah, I would
This is-
direct
this item
Mr.
is
It's not
only-
responsive to what's on the agenda.
No, I.
Right, it's not
Oh, I
responsive.
get that.
I would direct Mr. Chapman to the city's utility page and where we have a section discussing the rate increases.
So I'll need to vote on
Are
AB.
there any other,
Pardon?
anybody else?
Oh,
from the
yeah.
public?
Any other comments? Any comments?
No one online.
I'll move that we approve item 8B.
Second.
Motion and second.
Thank you. Councilmember Joyner,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Andriotta,
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen,
Yes.
and Mayor Carlskin.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is public hearing. Conduct a public hearing and adopt resolution 2024-173, approving the vacation of the excess roadway, public utility easement, and temporary construction elements in Liberty at Lincoln Phase 1.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is SP Mann. I'm a senior engineer with the Development Services. A little brief on the item in front of you. Agenda item 9A before you today is a request to conduct a public hearing for the vacation of access right-of-way and easements along Ferrari Ranch Road and Chalice Boulevard for the Liberty at Lincoln Phase 1 project. It's essentially a requirement by law. So a little bit of background to you on the project. Liberty at Lincoln Phase 1 is an approved 128-acre residential subdivision owned by Lewis Land Holdings, located west of Lincoln Crossing subdivision and just east of the wastewater treatment plant, and was part of the approved Village 7 specific plan area. A large lot vesting tentative subdivision map was conditionally approved by the City Council on June 8, 2010, that required construction of backbone roadways and infrastructure. The developer is currently constructing these backbone roadway and infrastructure that will be dedicated to the city for maintenance purposes. So the vacation exhibit that I'm talking about is shown as attachment 2 of my staff report. The portion of roadway and PUE, public utility easement, being abandoned along Ferrari Ranch Road is excess vacant land, has no infrastructure, and will clean up the right-of-way. 2 temporary construction easements that were granted to the city years ago for the construction and expansion of the sewer line are no longer required as the sewer line is already in place. So hence we're removing those, abandoning those. Public noticing and posting on site as required by law has been completed and posted on the Lincoln News Messenger on August 16th and 23rd of this month. Utility letters were sent out and no objection letters received. The vacations will occur on the large lot final map. I just want to emphasize that the public hearing is only required for processing these vacations as required by state law. With that, I conclude my presentation. And I would state that the staff recommendation is that the mayor open the public hearing, and upon conclusion of the hearing, request a vote for approval of the resolution approving the vacation of these easements under agenda item 9A, and subsequently also recommend approval of the 2 resolutions under consent item calendar 8F. Thank you.
Open public hearing. Voting on this item. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
No one online.
Anybody online? So it's back. May I have a motion?
Okay, I move approval of item 9A, resolution 2024-173.
I'll second.
Motion and a second.
Thank you. Councilmember Andriotta?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Joyner?
Yes.
Councilmember Lordson?
Yes.
And Mayor Carlskin.
Yes. 8F. Can we take these all in one vote? Okay. So first item is to adopt resolution 2024-168, setting aside a portion of city-owned property for the public street and highway to be known as Chalice Boulevard as part of Lincoln Phase 1 large lot final map, and 2, adopt resolution 2024-169 approving public roadway improvement plans for Liberty at Lincoln Phase 1 and approving Liberty at Lincoln Phase 1 large lot final map.
You approve both resolutions.
Should
Second.
technically open for public comment
Oh.
on that item.
Is there any public comment on the item? Is there any council comment on the item other than the voting on it?
Now I will make a motion to approve both resolutions.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Joyner?
Yes.
Councilmember Andriotta?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Lordson?
Yes.
And Mayor Carlskin.
Yes. Item 10A, Resolution 2024-174, approving the plans and technical specs and authorizing staff to proceed with the bidding process for the library cardboard recycling facility.
So,
From the back row.
So I'm not going to give a full report on this because frankly, I didn't write or and wasn't directly involved in this project on any level. But I did ask for it to be taken off of consent. This is a typical item we usually put on consent because I wanted to highlight something I personally think is, I'm starting to feel like I might be the only person that think is really cool about this project. So just real quickly, in case you don't know about the project, right now at the Lincoln Library, we have cardboard recycling kind of set up in the public parking lot, and it's really not an appropriate location for a variety of reasons. First of all, those facilities are just really difficult to deal with. People trash them all the time. They leave non-cardboard materials on the ground. It's just a messy setup. And besides the fact that you've heard ad nauseum all of the parking issues that we periodically have at the library. In addition to which, there's a ton of building. If you drive down 65, you see a ton of building going on in 12 Bridges, sort of finishing out that project. And so there's going to be a greater demand for the cardboard recycling locations. And so we got to thinking that this was sort of a temporary location and we need to find a permanent home. So we worked with the school district. The school district leased us at little to no cost some land right adjacent to this site that will be a dedicated cardboard recycling facility that has far more capacity, much easier for people to access, and also will be able to screen it from public view so it's not unsightly in that area. So it's an expensive project. It's probably in the $1 million range. We'll see when it goes to bid. But the reason I asked to have it put on general business was I wanted to highlight a little bit of a difference compared to most of our capital projects. So the young man that's sitting behind me, Jacob, is a recent hire here at the city of Lincoln as an engineer. And our city engineer, Vin, decided as he was looking at this project, why don't we make a stab at designing this project in-house? And for those that don't know, not all, but the vast, vast majority of our capital projects are designed or outsourced those. We send them off to an engineering firm and they draw the plans and then we bid them. And so Jacob came to us with some unique skills to be able to do that kind of work in-house. And I would say that most of our engineering team could do that work, but most of those folks are managing probably in many cases dozens of projects that valued at millions and millions of dollars. And so they're better used sort of managing the projects than working on a CAD system designing plans. But Jacob was up for it and Vin was supportive of that. So he drew these plans that you see in your document. And why that's important is that normally you kind of budget 10 to 20% depending on the complexity of the project for design. And so in a sense, not in a sense, in reality, we saved somewhere between $100,000 and $200,000 potentially by using our own staff to draw this plan set. We're not going to be able to do that in most cases, but in this case, it was appropriately sized that we could do that. So I just wanted to point that out because I think it's really great. And the more we can move in that direction, we can really maximize our dollars to do better projects and more of them. And we appreciate your support. Happy to answer any questions.
Well, we weren't going to tell him how much money he saved us.
Oh, well, I mean, he knows the math. He's an engineer. Yeah.
Well, the other plus is we know exactly where to go if this project doesn't work out.
That's right. Yeah. Especially now that we've talked about it publicly. Yeah.
I thought, kind of neat to be able to do that.
Yes.
And in fact, it was fun, right? So much fun, we shouldn't have paid you, right? Okay. Any comments from the? Yes. She's going to tell you got it wrong.
He's going to
No.
tell him he's a hero.
Yeah.
Hi, Jacob. I'm just really excited to hear this. I'm really happy Catherine's here. I'm sure she's happy to hear it too, because I counted 30 parking spaces that it takes up, but Linda DeRocher says it's 35. And with the new sports fields going in for the school, it just seems irresponsible that there isn't more parking planned to go with all that extra sports fields that's going in there. And I keep looking over where the hotel is and where your dead-end streets are into the property that's not developed. And the city owns the streets, and I keep thinking, why can't they move those cardboard boxes over and put them on the street? It's already paved. It's not that far from where they already are, and it would really alleviate the issue until we get a more permanent thing. So I'm really happy to hear that we're going ahead with that. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
We save, with the money that we save, could we have cameras out there so we can see who's making the mess?
Yeah,
leaving all the stuff?
so thank you so much, Carol, for asking that. So
No,
we are,
Mary.
sorry, Mary,
That's okay.
Mary.
I answered.
So we are going to have cameras not only at the Joyner location, but this location to monitor illegal dumping. Because I mean, look, the signs are out there. I drop my cardboard off. I always break it down pretty much. As long as it gets through that little slit, right? But the bigger problem, if you talk to our refuse team, is people just bringing straight up trash and just dumping it everywhere, mattresses, you name it. And so we'll be able to get license plates and follow up with those individuals to make sure that we haven't decided how we're going to issue citations, but we will be doing that.
Did you ever find anything about the Jeep project, the problem? The Jeep?
Oh, yeah,
Fulkini.
yeah.
You mentioned that, or
Uh,
on Fulkini, there's a Jeep that's kind of sticking out.
Oh, yeah. So that was sent over to code enforcement. They're in the process of discussing, making sure that gets moved. And
All right.
should be in the right of way.
Thank you, Jacob. You're a hero.
Thanks, Mary.
I just wanted to ask if the hot water heater was still over there. Is the hot water heater over there? Somebody dropped off a hot water heater and it's been inside of where the library bin is. I was just wondering if it was still there.
Yeah.
I think it was a
Scott's taking
donation.
Notes over here,
Yeah.
Fran. Scott's taking notes. Thank you. No, Scott's writing it down. He's got it. Thank you. He's right here. He's taking notes from what you just said.
Okay. We need a vote on this, right? Think we hadn't done that yet. We had too much exciting.
Could I comment on Jacob real quick? That'd be okay?
Yeah.
Jacob does multiple projects for me, my CIPs, and outstanding since he's been here. So Jacob is a great addition to our team, and I appreciate everything that he has done for us. So great addition.
Thank you, Jacob. Appreciate that.
Okay. Any other comments?
No, I move that we adopt resolution 2024 174.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Andriotta,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Joyner,
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen,
Yes.
and Mayor Carl Skint.
Sure.
Fran requires a hearty yes from you, Mayor.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
Resolution 10C. No, 10B. Resolution establishing the end date for the utility assistance program of February 28, 25, and making modifications to the program. Ms. Wacker, you want to give a
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the item before you is a result of council direction from a previous meeting, asking staff to establish an end to the utility assistance program. So we are asking that it be extended to February of 2025, and we've also identified a step down program. So as part of this, we're going to close the program and not take any new applicants. In addition, we'll begin reducing the amount in a schedule identified in the staff report. For the month of October, we'll reduce the amount to $22 and then subsequently $18, and then after that, $12, ending the program in February 2025. I will say that the program, to my mind, has been successful. We have currently 630 or so residents enrolled in the program. Based on our estimation that we'll have paid out almost all of the funds that the council initially identified that were available. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
I assume that, or maybe it's a bad assumption, are we going to put notifications in the bill for the selected customers?
Yes, yes. So once
They'll
this,
see that their amounts change.
right.
But the 28th of February, that's what you need to hit.
Yeah, once this resolution is adopted, we'll include a notice in the bill for these customers. It's depending on The timing, we may or may not get it out in the September bill, but it will be in the following bills. And we'll continue to push
There
that
will be a
information
bill
out
after
that,
bill
yes,
after
that
bill, yeah.
there will be no more applications accepted, and then the amount will be reduced.
Any other questions from the council? Any
My-
questions from the audience? Any questions or comments online?
No, Mayor.
I do
Okay.
appreciate staff's hard work on this and working with our residents, and I'm hoping that it was helpful and that they'll able to adjust once it finally comes to an end. I wish it could be forever, but I'm glad we were able to do it as long as we did.
Why don't you make the motion?
Okay, I will. I move that we adopt Resolution 2024-175.
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Andriotta,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Joyner,
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen, and Mayor Carlskent.
Yes. Item 10C, Resolution 2024-176, adding a limited term staffing allocation of a purchasing finance officer, purchasing officer in the finance department, and authorizing the budget augmentation, Fund 6,000. Presentation.
Yeah, well, I'll start out with a correction. It's actually Fund 6,000, not Fund 600. Apologies for that. I'll blame the conversion to Tyler, and even the finance director makes mistakes in remembering what the correct fund number is. But we are asking for a budget augmentation in Fund 6,000. We are asking for this limited term purchasing officer in our department. This would be an overfill for a position for a person who is scheduled to retire in the fall of next year. We're asking for a long run-up of the two positions in order to, one, spool up all of the additional work required as a result of the new fiscal year. Also to two, help bring Tyler Technologies fully online for the purchasing and contracts module. And three, just to clean up some longstanding projects that we don't have time to accomplish with existing staff. And of course, cross-train with the existing purchasing officer. Purchasing is an essential function in the city. While we are decentralizing some of the contract functions, we still require to have a position in finance to provide oversight and to ensure that contracts are renewed on a timely basis. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So just for clarity, it's Fund 600, not 6,000.
It is Fund 6,000.
We have a
in
Fund 6,000.
In Tyler, yes, the funds are all renumbered in Tyler Technology, and it was Fund 600 in Springbrook, our old system. It is now Fund 6,000 in Tyler
I don't like
Technologies. our new
change,
system.
you know that.
So are all the funds changed to numbers
Yes.
like that?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah. Welcome to my pain.
Yes, yes.
Welcome to
To
the
your- yes.
excitement of Tyler.
Thank you for your work.
Yeah. Is purchasing installed now?
Yes, the
Tyler?
purchasing module is live in Tyler, but it is not fully operational. So for
Well,
example,
nothing.
right, for example, all of the existing contracts need to be manually entered into the new system, and we need assistance with that. We just don't have enough man hours in the day to accomplish it with the one person that we have who already has full-time duties.
So it will be completely
Transitioned over. correct.
transitioned before our person retires.
Yes.
That was quite, that's
Yes.
really a question. Thank you.
I'm very supportive of this because I think that Nita and our staff have done such a great work in our finance department, and things are just, really strong right now. And with somebody retiring, you need time to train and get them up to speed. And I want to give you all the tools that you need to make that happen. So I'm very supportive of this.
We appreciate it.
Okay, any questions or comments from the public? Nothing online. Bring it back for further discussion or a vote.
Move approval of Resolution 2024-176.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Joyner,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Andriotta,
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen,
Yes.
and Mayor Carlskin.
Yep.
Woo-hoo.
Item 10D. Resolution 2024-177, authorizing participation in PARS Post-Employment Benefits Trust Program to be administered by a public agent retirement system. Nita?
Thank you. So last item on the agenda for me, if you recall, a few meetings ago, council received a presentation on the city's unfunded liability. And in addition, we received direction from council to move forward with a plan to begin mitigating that liability. So after that, we invited 3 of the top administrators to give presentations to our FIOC committee, presentations on their services and their fees and how they could best fit the city's needs for managing the UAL, or the unfunded liability. As a result of those presentations and subsequent information provided to FIOC and staff, FIOC and staff are recommending that we utilize PARS. And so we are bringing forward a resolution to adopt authorizing participation in the PARS program, which is managed through U.S. Bank, and coincidentally, PFM is also the investment advisor for it, so we have some familiarity there. In addition to that, we're also authorizing the termination of the city's participation in our existing trust, so we will move, not only develop a new pension trust, but move our existing OPEB trust over to PARS. And I think with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
No questions? Any questions?
I don't have any. Yeah.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Online?
No.
Okay. We're all satisfied. I'll accept the vote.
Well, I'll move to adopt resolution 2024-177.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown,
Yeah.
Councilmember Joyner,
Yes.
Councilmember Andriotta,
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen,
Yes.
and Mayor Carlskin.
Yes. Item 10E. Resolution 2024-178, approving a lease agreement and authorizing the city manager to execute a lease agreement with AT&T for cell site.
Thank you, Mayor. So we are being requested by a provider for AT&T to consider a new lease at McBean Park to site a cell antenna. Sort of an interesting project, how it materialized. This original proposal was proposed over at the water towers adjacent to Sun City. And that project went to Planning Commission where it was denied. And there was an appeal, there is a pending appeal. In the meantime, we've kind of been communicating with AT&T, and they, project applicant said, well, we know you have a couple of these sorts of facilities at McBean, that may work for us as well. Could we come take a look? So we did. And it turns out that it was a favorable location for them. And so we started negotiating kind of what was a reasonable lease rate. We fortunately, Rockland actually recently had a very similar proposal from I believe the same company. And we were able to negotiate. I'll give you the financial details in a moment, but there's also a pretty interesting added benefit that we were able to negotiate into the deal that will add to the stadium and its use. So it's a 25-year agreement. The initial lease rate, once they're constructed and sited, will be $3,000 per month with an annual 3% escalator. The amount of funds that will generate over a 25-year period is roughly $1.3 million, which would go to the general fund. And future councils can choose to allocate that. One of the ideas that was brought up during some of our agenda prep sessions is perhaps it's a nice small additional amount of money to sort of put towards landscaping and lighting deficits that are kind of siphoning off of the general fund currently. In addition, some of the other cities that were offered similar deals received one-time signing bonuses, an amount of roughly $20,000, which we did discuss. In exchange for that, one of the interesting ideas that the applicant proposed was they need to build a small sort of hut, essentially, to store a diesel generator in the event the power goes down, the cell service still stays up. And so they said, look, we can build one that's a little bit larger so you can receive half of the structure essentially for a snack shack or a place to sell concessions along the third baseline, kind of by the berms at McBean Park, which is a great location for it because we have a lot of kids that hang over there and families. And so they have to walk all the way back for concessions. And so we thought it was kind of a nice added benefit to the city in lieu of a siding bonus. So that's what we're recommending. The details of it are that they're going to actually take down one of our light poles and reinstall a pole that has a higher weight bearing limit and reinstall lights, as well as I believe even a microwave dish to allow us to beam our own internet to McBean, which is a little spotty a lot of the time there. So sort of a win-win-win all around, and we'd recommend your approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Comments?
I don't think so. More snacks for the kids.
Any-
Have we spoken to the Potters and Jessup about any impacts of lowering those lights?
I can talk to that.
Yep, go ahead, Matt.
I have spoken with Jessup, Potters, and Little League, and they are all in favor, 100% favor. The current proposal is 225 square feet of the end of that structure would be for our use. And the structure would be a brick structure designed to match the restroom on the entry of the D Street entry. So that whole stadium theme would remain the same.
And our understanding is that if this is approved, the company will drop the appeal as it relates to the water tower proposal.
The snack shack, does it face the Potter's Field or does it face the gazebo?
It would face the Potter's Field.
Okay. Okay. Any questions from the audience? Online?
No one online, Mayor.
Okay. No further discussion. I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll move to adopt resolution 2024-178.
I second.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Andriana?
Yes.
Councilmember Joyner?
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen? I'm sorry. Okay, Mayor Krolsky.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to cede my time to Treasurer Pearl because we're going to do I think there's a 2-minute quick slideshow of our Friday night and Saturday air show that he put together. So I think IT will cue that up here in just a minute.
Yeah, you did.
A little bit. This is the first time we expanded it to a Friday night, so we had a barbecue out there for all the people who helped on the event. So if you were a volunteer, if you were in the car show, if you were on the pilots, you were invited to come to the barbecue, which is hosted by Hops and Hogs. It was very good. We had about 150 people out there, and it was a kickoff for the night. But the highlight of the evening was what they call a moon glow by hot air balloons. And so what they do, they elevate the balloons and they keep the balloons up by jets of propane. So you get this brilliant orange flame coming up into the envelope. And because the envelopes themselves are colorful, it's just a spectacular sight, especially when it gets dark. So you'll see this in a second. So this is the dining tent that we had out there. The first year we had a big tent like this, which is really good. It was supposed to protect our guests from the sun. This time it protected our guests from the rain, but you can't, at least they were protected. So I don't know how we can start this. I can punch buttons, but it's not going to do anything. Is there a way that I can start this? Okay.
There you go.
Okay, this is one of the bands that we had out there. This is the start of the balloon raising up over here. So you see that orange flame coming in, and that's pretty cool. Looks like that's not going, there we go, okay. Once more, okay, so they're prepping for the moon glow. This is this shot over here, we had two balloons out there, the Remax, which is our stationary balloon, and this is just an example of a different type of balloon out there. We had people Scott, how many people out there? We had probably more than 1,000 people, I would think, right? Yeah, just lining the fence. I mean, they were on the outside. We designed it like that so people could do that on the outside. We had a flyover by Beale to T-38, which is good. It was raining, as you can see. This is a beautiful shot on the car. Lots of different cars out there. We had 200 cars all together. So Tom Andreri did a super job doing it. Rods and relics, sports cars, and a couple of exotics braved the elements also. So we had a pretty robust thing, and we found that the car show really brought out more people than we thought was going to happen. So we're definitely going to include them next year. Lots of people out there. Everyone's having a good time. There's our City of Lincoln. Pop up over here. We had our EAA crews coming through. They were guiding all the aircraft through over here. This is a Pitt Special, T-34. This is a pulling of an aircraft for a drug prevention program. Got a lot of it. We had the Beale Air Force Base K-9 crew over there, again, City of Lincoln. So we had some really good participation. Our police and fire were out there. People just love going up and talking to the police and the firefighters. Reach helicopter was one of, I think, 3 or 4 helicopters that came in, big draws. The kids were out there. It was just amazing to see all the kids. We just loved that. It was just so much fun. We did have the West Coast Ravens come out and give us an aerial demonstration. They did that twice. A couple of model aircraft out here. Again, families, this is what we really wanted to see, is have the families out there, and they really did it. And there's our judges out there. They were a little wet. Tom, that was one of the winners. One of the best ones we had out here, a C-27 by the Coast Guard from McClellan. They flew in. It was they just made the weight limit over here, and so it was really fun. They were just lined up. You can just see like this. They were busy from 9:30 until probably I think 2:30 2 o'clock when they finally pulled the. I just love that shot over there of the youngster. And we had 5 photographers. So I guess at the end of the day, it was a very successful event. As I said, it was a safe event, but to me, the fact that we had so many families out there, which was very, very rewarding. Again, kudos to our public works staff, the police and fire were out there, the Chamber of Commerce, they did so much work. It was really a whole team effort. We had the pilots out there, both the EAA and also as an organization, and also we had, I think, 30 or 40 pilots out there helping to make sure that everything worked just fine. No aircraft were damaged or even touched. So it was a safe event. Everyone had a ball, and we look forward to putting it on again next year in the sunshine.
But didn't we also have Assemblymember Joe Patterson and Congressman Kevin Kiley?
We did, yes. They were there, not as politicians, but they were there as for seeing what the constituents want, and so that's why they were there, both people, and so they worked out very well. We had 60 vendors all together, and I think 10 food trucks. So no one went away hungry. And there were lots of things for them to pick up and enjoy. So that was a lot of fun. Any other questions, Paul?
Richard, didn't you say that the Hops and Hogs food trailer was powered by a Tesla?
By a Tesla, yes. Yeah. I think it only used 4% of the battery power of the Tesla. So this is a very large food truck, too. You're putting out a lot of output. And it only took 4% of the Tesla battery. It's a little strange car, truck. I mean, a little strange, but
it's basically a mobile battery, isn't it? So it makes sense.
It's
you
all
can tap
battery.
into it.
Yeah. So we had a lot of fun out there, and again, we're going to do it again next year. Any other questions?
I have
Thank you.
something, but I think it's important to acknowledge Richard for what, he was the one that brought all this on, and he's been working probably 24/7 to bring this on, and the event was incredible. So thank you, Richard.
It's
I
a, it's a, it's a
appreciate
team
your help
effort.
doing
It's a
that.
team, it's team effort. Thanks.
He looked less stressed this year with the rain coming down than he ever has in the
Tom had all
previous
the
one.
stress. Tom was stressing enough for both of them.
Okay. Really good city manager report. Council initiated business. Does anybody have any? I have one item I'd like to bring back, although we said when we did it, that it'd be a year. I'd like to bring back the code of conduct. Is that, I forget what we called it, but it's how we said we were gonna. I've thought of a couple of things in that period of time. And so I'd like to have this council who generated it take a shot out of it before I leave.
So you've just got a couple of additional items you'd like to include in that, and you'd like us to bring it back for discussion.
I'd like to bring it back for discussion.
An issue with that?
Hmm?
I don't have an issue with that. It's fine.
Unless I can just include some items without it. No, I have some items I want to discuss.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine, so.
Yep.
We have consensus on that. Committee reports. I had none
Last
since the
meeting.
last meeting.
Two very quick, both of them SACOG related. You may recall that the federal government came in and did not like our Placer County and El Dorado County not participating in a regional funding round. SACOG has always held a 4-county funding round for those monies, and then PCTPA and El Dorado each got their individual allocations. Federal government came in, Federal Highways came in and said, that's not the way that wants to work. There's a corrective action against Caltrans to say that that can no longer be allocated out in that manner. It needed to be a 6-county funding round, which obviously made us all very, very nervous that all of that funding would now go to SACOG and be competitive in the entire 6-county region. So what we did was put together effectively 2 committees, one representative of the electeds in the area, so one representative for each county. I represented Placer County, and a working group staff committee as well that brought in a lot of, well, PCTPA and El Dorado and many other staff members to work through this. The process was about 1.5 years long, very bumpy in the beginning, but we got to a place that I think is about as good as we're going to get. PCTPA is comfortable with it. El Dorado is comfortable with it. And so that final work product was brought to the board and approved. And then following that, we had our very last funding round working group meeting to just kind of touch base on where we'd been and how we monitor this moving forward. So those are the only 2 items that I have, other than the fact that we also did the review for the executive director of SACOG and made some contract modifications that were not big, but so we've gotten through that for another year as well.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any.
I don't
since our
have
last
any
council
either.
meeting.
Okay.
PCTPA tomorrow morning for me.
Yeah.
That's all. I have PCTPA tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's Wednesday, yeah.
Next item, information.
Information.
Well, we all missed it because we were here, but they had the food truck frenzy for the football earlier today.
Yeah, it's really crazy. They usually invite us, but they did it on a council meeting tonight, so.
Yeah.
Have fun. They had a good turnout.
Open told them I
Okay.
couldn't.
Information items from staff? Oh, all right.
Adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.